Came for the Scientology, stayed for the critical thinking. As I'm sure many people are, I'm frustrated by the conversations I'm having with the Trump supporters in my life. Specifically, people who find ways to defend his bullying, inappropriate tweets, handling of the pandemic, name-calling, all of it. I believe if there's to be any healing, we need to find ways to hang in there with those we disagree with the most. I need a strategy. Could you share how you're handling this? Thank you very much for staying for the critical thinking and for your question, Pam. Really appreciate this. So, okay, Trump supporters. Basically, what we're talking about at this point, okay, I mean, Trump's out. He's out as president. It's done. It's a done deal, and he's leaving. If there are still people who are, quote unquote, loyal to him, going on at a mad rate about how the election was stolen from him and all this, these are people who are basically in a cult mindset. I mean, let's be honest, okay? At this point, it's pretty stupid. I mean, there shouldn't be any politician that we are all rapturously adoring and worshiping. These are people who have jobs. We hire them through a voting process and put them in positions of power so they can help regulate the economy and the laws of the country and our trade and foreign affairs. That's what we hire them for. That's what we put them there for. This whole concept of falling in love with politicians, worshiping politicians, rapturously adoring politicians, it's sick. It's actually sick. And we really, really, really need to knock that off. Now, that all being said, you don't get anywhere with these people talking to them that way, okay? I just wanted to get a little bit off my chest before I got into this, okay? So as far as, and you might want to too with friends, that you have, because you can't rant to these people about Trump any more than you could rant to Scientologists about L. Ron Hubbard or Tom Cruise. You can't. You're not going to get away with it. These are people who are not interested in any way in hearing anything critical about Donald Trump. So just skip it. Don't go there. Leave it alone. Eventually, most of it will undo itself, just to be totally honest with you, right? If you give it time, because Trump's out. And if they want to keep following Donald Trump as a private individual and watch his path to prison or whatever's going to happen to him, well, okay, that's their choice. Your questions for you are a couple. First, number one is, how important is this person to your existence? Two, based on how important they are to your existence, how much is this going to be a problem? And you have to honestly assess that, because just because it ires you or irks you or annoys you doesn't mean it has to be a problem in the relationship. You do have the capability of just parking that crap and leaving it alone. And in many, 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 many cases, that is the best way to go about this, is just leave it alone. You don't have to be on a mission to convert these people or run an intervention or do some kind of like a cult intervention or something, right? You don't have to do any of that. You can just have a relationship with them that is, for lack of a better way of putting this, I'm going to use a Scientology term of good roads, good weather, of just talking about the weather, talking about good stuff, talking about things you guys know you can agree on. There are people who know that they agree to disagree, who know that there are things they are going to fight about if given the latitude to bring these topics up and start riling each other up about them. Sometimes those people are able to come to resolutions by deciding, you know what, let's just agree to disagree and let's not talk about this. And let's just not make a thing about it. I'm going to think one way, you're going to think another. Why don't we bond on the things we agree on and can talk about recipes, TV or entertainment, sports, other news, other foreign affairs news, other political things. Although, crafts, hobbies, job, family, kids, fishing, like anything else. Especially, now let's get into some real advice here, especially if you can draw out what Steve Hassan calls the pre-cult personality. Okay, I'm trying to summarize a lot of stuff here. There's books on this stuff. Okay, but basically, you have a person who, prior to their commitment to Donald Trump and their loyalty to Donald Trump, they had a different personality or a different way of looking at the world. Maybe they were hardcore GOP or hardcore evangelical or hardcore something else. That's a different problem, maybe a similar one, depending on the person you're talking about here. But, or maybe none of those things. Maybe they just came fresh in on the Trump boat and they just went all in on that. But there's a pre-Trump personality there that you can appeal to, that you can talk to, that you can try to bring out again, right? Remember those movies we used to go to? Remember that time, right? You know, focusing attention and effort and future efforts on the things you do agree on or can find common cause on. That's basically what I'm trying to say. That will help draw out their pre-Trump, pre-cult personality, okay? This is true, of course, with anybody, any cultist anywhere in any group or any extremist. So I'm not talking about trying to live in denial. I'm talking about trying to live at all with these folks. And if you're trying to constantly bring this topic up, or they're constantly bringing the topic up, then you have a problem. And you have to deal with that problem either by getting that problem off the table entirely, by not dealing with it, by just, okay, why don't we not talk about Trump today? Why don't we talk about something else? Or why don't we relate on or connect on other things? Like I said, maybe, hopefully, prior things that the person was really interested in and passionate about, hobbies, sports, etc. Or, you know, the other option here is go all in and just take it. Just take it all. You just have the conversation and just duke it out. But I don't think too many people are going to have very much success at that. And because it's Trump is a symbol of what's going on with this person. There are emotional needs underneath that Trump is fulfilling. And unless you can dig in and find out from this person telling you what those emotional needs are, you're not gonna dethrone Trump off his dais or his pedestal for them. He represents something that is very, very significant, meaningful, and important for them and their version of reality. So if you're gonna duke it out or have that conversation and decide, okay, we're gonna deal with this now and I'm gonna change you, well, then you're gonna have to dig, and you're gonna have to dig deep, and you're gonna have this person's trust, and you're gonna have this person's willingness to communicate to you. And you're not gonna ever get that by yelling and screaming at them or telling them how wrong they are. So you see why these two things don't go together so well, right? And that's why I say maybe leave it alone, right? Because that's counseling level, that's therapy level work. And even counselors and therapists are not that great at it most of the time. So it's hard work to dig into somebody's skull and change who they are or how they see the world for real. And you got to understand that when you're dealing with people who still, at this point, at this late date, are still in this passionate froth about Trump, you're not going to touch that, not unless you're really, really good or you have an amazing relationship with this person. And if you did, you probably wouldn't be asking me this question. So that's why when I say to you, maybe leave it alone, I'm not trying to put that there as this big, okay, let's just deny the problem exists and we won't ever touch it and we won't ever deal with it and we'll just let this dead fish sit on the table. That's not the attitude I'm talking about having in relation to this. I'm instead saying, look, that dead fish is not just sitting on the table, it's nailed to the table. And it's not coming off. And it's just going to sit there. So you can talk about it, you can complain about it, you can bitch about it, you can try to get the person to take the dead fish off the table, but that's a lot of work. So instead, if you want to continue having a relationship with the person, maybe you have to just kind of hold your nose a little bit and leave the dead fish alone. Okay. Anyway, I don't know. I hope that's practical advice. I hope that's somewhat useful. Let me know what you think and if there's anything else I can say or clarify about what I'm saying here.